The Lakers lost to the Clippers the other night, and you really you really have to kind of at this point start to ask your questions as a Laker fan. Um, the Lakers lost to a Clippers team that did not have Kawhi Leonard, and the Lakers did have LeBron James. So the Lakers had the vaunted Big Three that they are paying collectively, three players, something approaching $120 million per year. Uh, and they lose in the Staples Center to a Kawhi-less Clipper team. Um, I think with LeBron, the Lakers are slightly above 500, maybe one game over 500. I'm not really sure. Uh, but you have to start asking yourself some questions. And this is the question I'm asking. How much was a bubble championship worth? How much was a bubble championship worth? How much you win a championship that I mean I mean the reality of the situation is that, you know, when some championships are not regarded in as high esteem as are others. You win the championship uh, because LeBron gets to take 5 months off and then play for 2 months in the bubble. Well, we know LeBron is great for 2 months. We know AD is great for 2 months. The question is, how durable are they? And so now it's 2022, in about 20 some odd days. It'll be 2022. And the Los Angeles Lakers have an old roster, an injury-ridden Anthony Davis, and an injury-ridden LeBron James. What does the future look like? And especially considering the fact that the league is now littered with former Lakers from the 2017-18 team that was emerging, that are thriving in the league. Those players are thriving. The summer that they signed LeBron, I didn't have a problem with the Lakers signing LeBron per se. I just didn't want them to let LeBron take over the team. My view was that you sign LeBron because he's a great player, and then you make it clear that you do not intend to mortgage the team's future so that he can get another championship. Okay? The truth is, the Lakers had far more leverage than LeBron did. There was a consensus in the league that LeBron, while being a great player, was too expensive. He was going to require that you completely revamp your team. You basically turn the organization over to LeBron. And it wasn't a lot of teams that were keen to sign LeBron. And we all know he wanted to come to Los Angeles. I felt like the Lakers, LeBron needed the Lakers at least as much or perhaps more than the Lakers needed LeBron. The Los Angeles Lakers had a young, talented team, an emerging team, and cap space. This is the city of Los Angeles. Do you really think you're not going to be able to sign a free agent like Paul George? Now, if you remember, that summer, Paul George didn't even give the Lakers a meeting. He was playing with Russ in OKC. Um, Russ convinced him to stick around. Okay? This is what I think actually happened. I think these players and their agents, they understand things that don't get out into the public. And word around the league was that LeBron was going to sign with the Lakers. And everyone knew it. Okay? I saw things on the internet to that effect well before he actually signed. Okay? I think Paul George's agent knew that LeBron was coming to the Lakers. And Paul George did not want to play with LeBron. So the situation the Lakers are facing is you can sign LeBron. You're probably going to have to change your team, completely radically change your team to accommodate him. LeBron at this point is already 36. Okay? Or you can say no to LeBron and bet on the kids and your ability as the Los Angeles Lakers to attract free agents. I personally, me personally, I would have had a conversation with LeBron and told LeBron, listen, we'd love to have you, but we're not trading the kids. Okay? We're not trading Brandon Ingram. We're not trading Julius Randle. We're not trading the young players. And if you still want to come, that's great. We'll pair you with another max contract player, and when these kids grow up, we'll have a hell of a team. But that's what it's going to be. And if he didn't want to deal with that, then I would have said goodbye. The thing is, young talent is just too valuable. And you've got the Warriors dynasty was built because they had talent, homegrown talent that was under contract for, and so I mean when you draft a Draymond Green, a Steph Curry, a Klay Thompson, you can go and sign a Kevin Durant. This is what the Lakers roster would look like. You add up these salaries, this adds up to about what the Lakers are paying right now. This would be the best team in the league. And it would be good for the next, what is Paul George, 31? There's no reason. LeBron is playing till he's 40. There's no reason Paul George can't be good for the next 5 years. This team has 3 20-point scorers. You have Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso poised to make the all-defense team. We know that what you need to win an NBA championship is an all-defense player. And you need a 25-point-per-game scorer. That's Paul George. You may even have 2 of them. This team is going to run teams off the court completely. This is a better roster than the Warriors. I don't know. It may not be a better roster. I'm not sure. It may be a better roster even when they get Klay Thompson back, depending on just how good Klay is when he comes back. But this team's got every bit of 3 All-Stars, perhaps 4. This team's got Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench, former 6th Man of the Year. Okay. This team's got bigs. Gary Payton Jr. is killing it defensively. This is a very athletic, gifted team that can beat teams in a number of different ways. And they would be paying about what they're paying right now. Did the Los Angeles Lakers trade multiple championships for one? I don't know. I mean, I I watched the Jazz the other night. I don't think the Lakers can beat them in 7 games. I don't think I putting aside putting aside the fact that it's unlikely that both AD and LeBron will be healthy in the playoffs, given their history. Putting that aside, fully healthy, I don't think the Lakers. We're not even talking about Golden State and Phoenix. We're not even talking. I'm talking about the Jazz. They had 3 All-Stars last year. The Eastern Conference. I mean, Miami, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. Well, Bam may be injured for the rest of the season. We don't know. Fully healthy, though. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry. Really sure the Lakers would beat them in 7 games? The defending champions. What is this team that can't play defense? What are they going to do with Giannis? Uh, I mean, it's AD. I mean, AD is capable, but I mean, I I'm not so sure about that. Uh, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine Kyrie won't come back for the playoffs. I mean, I think he's probably just kind of taking the year off. I think this vaccine thing, he does he does have a principled stand on this, but it's hard for me to imagine that he's literally going to take the whole year off. Lakers beating that team that almost beat Milwaukee without a healthy James Harden. Lakers beating that team. Kyrie comes back. So I don't that was a bad loss. The Lakers were supposed to win that game last night, Friday night. They were supposed to win that game. Uh, what? Why do you lose? Well, you you traded your all defense candidate, reserve guard, and your other uh, borderline all defense candidate, KCP. You traded those 2 guys, and you got Russell Westbrook. So now you can't defend threes. And so the Clippers make 16 3-pointers last night. 16 for 35. That wasn't Paul George going off last night. He had 19 points. No, they just swung the ball, and Russ doesn't really play great defense. I mean, to his credit, LeBron was back, so I mean, he didn't have a lot of turnovers. He was playing off the ball. He only made he was 4 for 8 from the field. Great, great. But I mean, Luke Kennard, 21 points. So I just I think Laker fans need to start asking some questions. What was that bubble championship? Was it worth it? And I don't know that it was. I don't know that it was. I live in Seattle, and this city has very, very fond memories of the Gary Payton, Sean Kemp Sonics. That team did not win a championship, but they were good for a long period of time. I mean, if the Lakers are mediocre again, well, bad, they'd have to completely rebuild through the draft and be bad for several years. Because I mean, this doesn't look like it's going to end well. And we know what LeBron does when he starts losing. So when he leaves, is AD sticking around? I would say that the Lakers, there's at least a 50% chance that this time next year we're having conversations about a Laker rebuild. This team is old and slow, and there was no way this was going to work.